Kpro Cow powwow. Kpro Cow powwow wow. It's the Kpro Cow powwow wow. Kpro Cow. They wanna find the treasure, they wanna find it now. They are Kpro and they are Cow. They're going over it and over it and over it again. This treasure hunt created by Forrest Fenn. Sing it! Kpro Cow powwow. Kpro Cow powwow wow. It's the Kpro Cow powwow. Marion and Indy are what they're like, although their real names are Christy and Mike. Can they pin down the treasure? They just might. Tune in to find out Monday nights. Kpro Cow powwow.
You can hear me?
Kpro Cow powwow wow. It's the Kpro Cow powwow.
All right. Unplug it, plug it back in.
Technical difficulties, everybody.
Okay, can you hear me?
No. So in Zoom,
Hold on,
just check to make sure it's the right one. Actually, now you can hear me. Can you hear me, everybody? Make sure you can hear me. And you might want to see if the headset's muted somehow. Okay, Pro. Yeah. Dirty, rotten scoundrel. What's that? Okay, bro. I can't hear her because she's not plugged in. All right, everybody. Oh. Okay. Okay, so today is Monday. Today is May 11th. Happy birthday to those that have birthdays. And we're live, and we're going to talk about the Forrest Fenn clips that we have showed. Maybe not all of them, but we're going to show most of them, and we're going to kind of pause it as we go, and we're going to discuss, because we've never done that all together at the same time. Let's try audio check, Christy.
Hi, everybody.
Let's hear. We get a thumbs up for Christy's audio working, everybody.
Woohoo!
All right, we'll say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody. And I have something super secret to tell all of you. Kpro, come over here. This will be the first time Kpro is on live. Come here. I know your mouth's full. I'm cooking my kid dinner, but guess who is 11 today? So his mouth is full, but everybody is saying happy birthday to you. So happy birthday, treasure hunter Kpro. 11 years old. Do you feel different? I know you feel different. Can you tell me? Okay, tell me. Tell them. You do? How do you feel different?
Older and mature.
He's older and more mature.
And better at Fortnite.
And he's better at Fortnite. Okay.
Look at you.
Thanks, buddy.
Happy birthday. Just look at you.
Oh my gosh.
All right, happy birthday to Kpro.
Yeah, we are still all locked down, but he did get why am I saying I know? He did get some balloons. He did get some V-Bucks on Nintendo, and we are still locked down. So we're doing our best on this birthday. We're going to go to the park after we go live, but happy birthday, Kpro. You're 11. You're awesome. Okay.
Okay, and more breaking news. The big poker tournaments tonight, everybody. We're going to be playing for Copper Dan's Too Far to Walk piece. So there's going to be 4 tournaments, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. If you finish in the top 2 or 3 in those tournaments, the final 12 will play on Sunday. 2 tables of 6. Whoever wins that tournament will get a Copper Dan's Too Far to Walk piece. Absolutely free. Poker's free. The piece is free. Awesome. And thank you to the person who bought it from Dan to donate it. So that's on Poker Stars. You guys should know by now how to join. But if you don't, email me. I'll help you out. It's in 1 hour and 30 minutes. So we are getting off at 7 o'clock sharp because we got to get ready for the poker tournament. So we're going to do 1 hour tonight. And then 30 minutes later, the poker tournament starts. Yeah.
And those of you that have played before, you think you can buy in up to 10 minutes late. Something has happened. I got locked out of not 1, not 2, but 3 tournaments yesterday. You must be paid before the tournament starts, which is a little different. You must be on time. If you're 1 minute late, guess what I got to do? I got to sit around for hours and watch everybody. This is for a Copper Dan piece. This is big. So don't get locked. There's nothing we can do if he gets locked out. So yeah. And of course we Zoom, we laugh, we make fun of each other. We do get a little rowdy. So if you are thin skinned, that is not the room for you. Mike cried the other night. It was very sad. Anyway, yeah. So no, William, do you see my name? I'm a dirty, rotten scoundrel. I'm living up to my name. I have decided. I do declare. So
Well,
there you go.
Forrest knows your type. He did say that to us. And Jack, it's not that poker's more important. It's that there's time for both.
Coronavirus.
You guys know why. That's why we have time for both. So if this looks a little crazy, it's because I wasn't able to set the green screen up. So because it's not about me, it's about the Forrest Fenn clips that we're about to show. So we ready to jump right into it, or you want to go over anything else, Christy?
I have one other thing,
The
but do we
clips are
want to
about
leave it?
25 minutes long. So go ahead.
Do we want to leave the last breaking news to the end?
No, go ahead. Breaking news.
And I know this is not as a big a deal to you, but one of the things, my daughter is 13. We've not named her yet. We have D Pro, we have K Pro. She doesn't want to be S Pro. Her name is Samantha. She has decided she's now 13. She got ribbed a little bit in the beginning. She sees how thick-skinned I am. She is ready to be a full-fledged treasure hunter, and she spent the day looking at the thrill of the chase. So you will see her in some upcoming videos. She's decided, I don't care what people say. I'm going to come out because I'm ready to find the treasure. And so we talked about which clues. We talked about a lot of stuff today. I'm not going to, no, my God, I'm not pregnant. Stop it, you guys. So anyway, she's going to be on G Pro and we need to name her. And we've got to figure that out. But she is going to be on. We won't go live at the beginning. We're going to do a few, and then she may jump on here and there live with us. So it's kind of a cool. We're going to have a full family affair very, very soon. So there you go. There you have it. There it is. There's my breaking news. We're going to be a whole search family. Dun dun dun.
Awesome. Okay, so there it is, everybody. But that'll be a future show, right?
Yes.
Okay. Treasure hunt to pay rent, William says.
Sam, I am. Oh, keep giving me ideas, guys. I'll throw them all by. Oh, the dirty, rotten scoundrels. Mark West. That's a child you're talking about. An innocent child.
And Billy Press says you didn't get knocked off poker. You got knocked out.
I did not. I didn't even get to play.
Yeah,
I did get knocked out. If 9 clues is in here, I had 3 kings. He got 4 6s. I yelled so loud, I think it broke the earth. It was a bad beat.
Okay, so that is tonight in 1 hour and 20 minutes. So if you're going to play tonight, but if you can't make it tonight, you have the other 3 days of the week in preparation for Sunday. Okay, should we jump right into the clip?
Oh, and but I'm loving you guys keep giving me the. She's going to be, I think, the first teenager and the first female searcher to give perspectives, and
That's cool.
Yeah, so there we have it. I love these ideas. I'm going to throw them all by her, so this will be awesome.
Okay. Let me think. Yeah, okay. So you guys will come up with a better name than I would. So, all right. So what we're going to do is this is a video that we've had out there, and we kind of compiled some of the clips. It's not all the clips because it's not an updated video, but it's some of them. But we actually wanted to watch it together and then stop it as we go and make comments, take comments from the chat on what we think is important, what we think is not important. And maybe now that we all know what the keyword is that I came up with, maybe it changes things, but probably it doesn't. All right. You ready to do that, Kpro?
Yes. And I did forget. Billy did knock me out of one tournament yesterday.
Yeah. All right.
Saying.
We go, everybody.
Okay. Here we go. Here we go.
Up or not.
Have you teed up why? I'm sorry. I wasn't listening.
Dope. Hang on. Give me 1 second.
Okay. While you're doing that, one of the things that we have been
That's
getting a lot of feedback on is we have not discussed the clips that we've already put out. We need to discuss them more thoroughly because we haven't, and that hasn't given you all time to hear different perspectives. So that's what we are going to do tonight. And there's no more soundboard. For Mother's Day, I got no soundboard. I think there's no soundboard. Ooh, soundboard.
I missed that memo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That thing's just going to disappear magically. It's going to be the new scandal.
Here we go, everybody.
What do you know about the chase that others do not?
Oh, I know all kinds of things. No, just kidding, just kidding. Forrest has been very careful not to tell me anything, and I don't ask. I don't look, I have not looked for the treasure. I did look once because I had a friend, Elizabeth Sebastian, who owns a ranch way up along the Guyana River, and she's 83 years old, and she was sure that the treasure was buried on her land, but she couldn't get to that place, and she asked me as a favor to go there. So I went there, and there was nothing there, and she was very disappointed, but that's how it works.
All right, let's talk about that real quick. One, I like how he says Kakahina. How do you pronounce it? Kakahina River? I don't know. But does that fit with everything what we've heard over the years? That there was this older lady who thought for sure it was on her property, asked Douglas to go look because she was apparently too old to go look. He went, it wasn't there. Does that fit with when he says I took one boots on the ground? Does that match info you have, Kpro?
Yeah, so those of you, here's some behind the scenes. I didn't think he was going to say that he had gone boots on the ground because he had told some other people he had not. So I had the picture of him when he went boots on the ground with this woman ready. So when he said no, I would have been, but ha ha. And so he was ready. And to be honest, which he didn't really call it a boots on the ground. So that's why kind of we mince words sometimes. It did correspond. That does align with some people that say the 200 footer was a woman that happened to have a man there. She did, from what I understand, had her dog there. Douglas had only gone out that one time. That's why a lot of people thought it was Douglas Preston. I know some people on the blogs are like, I got a hold of him and I confirmed it before Kpro said it. Who cares who said it first? I'm kind of sick of the credit stuff, but it didn't matter. So is he the 200 footer? I don't know. There's no way to know, but he did confirm he did go boots on the ground once. For those of you that think that might be him, he is open and public about where he searched. So, and that is, in case you don't know it, that is where Desert File search location is. I did confirm
There's a
from.
name I haven't heard in a long, long time. What happened to him?
He's still around. He's still, I don't know. I talked to him a couple months ago or went back and forth about Fimbury and all of that. Okay.
You never know.
Yeah. So.
Well,
and the biggest lie of the chase, I think we have one question that we have reached consensus on. Douglas Preston knows more than he says.
a lot of people think that.
And at the beginning of that, where he says, I know so much more. No, I don't know anything. I think, like most, I don't necessarily think he knows the final location. I do think he knows more. I think he knows what's going to happen after Forrest passes. I think he knows.
So Redneck Express says, I believe that Douglas Preston's first boots on the ground statement is truthful. So we got that going for us. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Remember that Super Chat's on. If you just have a question, you have to have Kpro or me answer. Or if you want something played, I don't know, you could try. And make sure you thumbs up the video. All right, let's continue on. And thumbs up for getting this interview too.
Okay, so now you've had in the forward of Once Upon a While, and famously quoted another time with two different locations of this famous parking lot, what we call the 10th clue. So what is it about the Northern Arizona University parking lot and the Denver Museum of Natural Sciences parking lot? What's similar between them that we should be looking at, or searchers should be looking at to discover the 10th clue?
Well, this is a mystery because you're going to have to ask Forrest this one. Now, it might be my faulty memory. I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure that 25 years ago, Forrest told me that they were going to find his car in the parking lot of the Museum of Northern Arizona. I think he told me that. Now, I mentioned that a couple of times, and then Forrest very much more recently said to me, no, that's wrong. The car would have been in the parking lot of the Denver Museum of Natural History. Okay, so you're gonna have to ask him about that. I don't know, I may be misremembering or whatever, so.
Well, it's interesting to me that Douglas says, Forrest says no and corrects him. Says that, no, it's not the Arizona, it's the Denver. And I wonder if it was when they talked about this interview. In other words, we're gonna talk about this, and then Forrest corrects him.
Wasn't there more to this clip?
And it's at the end when they're together is what we play at the end. Yeah.
Okay. So one, I think there's a 0% chance he's misremembering. They absolutely they went to lunch just before our interview, and I guarantee, because Forrest knew I was going to be asking this question, Douglas had to know if he has half a brain, and I actually think he has a bigger brain than most of us. So is he misremembering? No. So here's two things. One, Forrest by the end of this, and Douglas, they completely rule out the Arizona Museum. They've ruled it out. So now we're down to the Denver Museum. Neither of them would, they were doing hot potato, neither of them would rule it out. So so the only thing we did do was rule out the Northern Arizona. The Denver one is managed by a family member of Forrest. Is he a donor there? Is he not? I haven't done a FOIA. I have no idea. Yeah, Jillian, faulty memory. B to the S. B to the S. Exactly. I don't know is the answer to that. So
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, you know, all you can do is trust him with what he says. Plus, Forrest expounds on it a little bit at the end of this clip that we're showing, the end of this video. So you guys can make the decision for yourself. I like how Sassafras says Arizona was the rough draft and Denver Museum was the final version. So in other words, Forrest had it in his mind, talked about it, and then changed it for some reason. Why that is, we would have to guess, but everybody's got to make up their own mind. So we're going to try and watch the chat, and we're going to try and ask questions as we show these.
oh my God, you guys are on fire. Yes, the PhD says huger because I'm allowed to relax a little. And Carrie says, let's vote. Who knows more, Kpro or Douglas? Of course, Douglas does. I vote Douglas. Anybody who votes for Kpro, bet me because I know you're wrong. So chill tonight, guys. You guys are being, well, Henri, let's take our Henri pills off. Yeah. Oh yeah. Do a FOIA because that goes really well. Thank you, William. No, I'm not doing a FOIA. I will let others and others' friends do that. There you go.
I wish you weren't a liar.
I'm always
Oh.
lying.
All right, here we go.
When you wrote the poem, which stanza did you write first?
Well, I knew every step from the first one, from the first clue to the last one. I mean, it was already in my mind for a long time. But I think I'm correct in saying that I hid the treasure and then I went home and wrote the poem.
All right, let's pause it there because there's a lot going on here. First thing is you ask him, when you wrote the poem, which stanza did you write first? Now, it would make sense that it was in logical order. He wrote stanza 1, but wouldn't it have been interesting if we would have gotten an answer, but we didn't get an answer. He doesn't say which stanza he wrote first. He says, I had in my mind the clues from the beginning. So he always knew, to me, that means, just my opinion, he always knew the order of the clues. It's not like he had to decide which came first. Remember, he says, I put one foot in front of the other, from one clue to the other to the treasure. But he didn't answer the question, which stanza he wrote first.
When he says he knew every step, okay, this is my opinion of what we just heard, but something that, tell me if you logically think about this the same way. He said, I knew every step from the first to the last. Does that mean they're all steps? That they're not in cars and planes and this and that? Once you get out of your car, he knew every step. And does that then make WWWH as special as that final spot? Did he know every step?
And then he says the thing that has thrown all of us off, which is, he says, I think I'm right in saying I hid the treasure chest first, then I went home and wrote the poem. But let's replay it. Let's replay it.
I know I'm saying no because I know you're right and it doesn't make sense. He's wrong.
Right. He said it both ways, and it's, yeah, that's that one. I don't know. Or maybe he's just misremembering. This is what going on how many years ago? If we think he did it in 2009, this is 11 years ago. All right, hang on. It would be a pretty important moment in his life, though. But let's replay that little part.
Okay.
Well, I knew every step from the first one, from the first clue to the last one. I mean, it was already in my mind for a long time. But I think I'm correct in saying that I hid the treasure and then I went home and wrote the poem. I could have done it the other way around. I don't think it makes any difference because there was just one place under consideration in my mind to do that.
So then he says it doesn't matter whether he hid the poem hid the poem, whether he hid the treasure chest first, then wrote the poem, or wrote the poem and hid the treasure. He says it doesn't matter. To me, that means it is in that isolated, remote place, meaning he could have left it there for 15 years. Nobody can stumble upon it. Not that nobody will. I think nobody can stumble upon it. You are not going to accidentally find it. If you don't follow the clues, the 9 clues precisely, you can't find it. Whatever that means to you. What do you think, Kpro?
He has said it a couple of times, so I know it wasn't by mistake, but it doesn't make sense. We know Douglas saw several versions of it. We know that Chip saw at least one version of it. We know now maybe he meant finalized, but that's not what he said. And that's not what he has said several times before our interview. This was the one thing that you always said stumped you more than anything. And I agree with you. I think there's more to this than what is being said.
And Mark West says he knew the treasure chest location and he knew the order of the clues that he wanted to give. And then he wrote the poem over and over. He refined it. Not the clues themselves, I think just the poem, because remember, there's extra stanzas in there and things. I would agree with that. The question is, did he hide the chest, then write the poem? Or did he write the poem over the 15 years? And once he got it finalized, go, okay, now I'm going to take it out and hide it. And that's a good question. When he had the publishing date, when he had the date, was it August that the Thrill of the Chase came out? Actually, I want to say October. Somebody will know.
I think
October of 2010. Whenever that, party was at the Collector Works bookstore that, hey, here's this new book with a treasure hunt. How early before that date did he go hide the treasure chest? Was it the day before, the week before, the month before, or 15 years before? I mean, we don't know. I think from his answer, we're really not.
Well, he didn't, taking out the 15 years one, we don't know if it was a day or a year, but it was within that year before. He said he hit it in 2009, 2010, or when he was 79 or 80.
But that's the problem, is he has said, I've hit it in 2009 or 10. I don't want to say which year so people can try and figure out where I was. But then he says something like this, where he's like, I think I'm correct in saying I wrote the poem. Or no, I hid the treasure chest, then I wrote the poem. And if it took you 15 years to write the poem, it obviously then wasn't in 2009, 2010. I don't think it's a big deal, because as he says, either way, it doesn't matter. The end result's the same. Location is the same. Clues are the same. He refined the poem. What's in the book is the finalized version we're to go off of. And that's it.
Okay, Kathy Ramsey, and then we have a super chat, says, because no one is interested in going to the place, it doesn't attract tourists. It's remote, but not so remote that the road is close by. I understand your interpretation. Mine is different. I believe people keep arriving there. The location where you park is actually a touristy place, but then you go 500 feet off path and you are actually in a very remote location. So I think it's actually both. So I interpret a little bit differently. Okay, super chat, William. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. Thank you, William.
Okay, you want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
If he hid the chest first, how much time to calculate for writing the poem, publish the book, and marketing? Hid the chest in 09, write the book in 10, which would make sense. I think you mean sense. I think he wrote it. I personally think he wrote it for, let's just say, years and years. I think he had versions of it. I think he showed lots of people versions. I think he had the chest. He was putting different stuff in it, all of that. I think he had lots and lots and lots of stories on his computer, just like right now. He has lots of stories on his computer that he is giving Cynthia, and they are putting out the, secret stories of Taos, or whatever they're calling them, or stories of Taos, whatever it is. I think that was what he did for Once Upon a While. I think that's what he did for the first version of Once Upon a While, the scrapbooks, all of that. So I don't think it took him long, because and he used stories that he had published before that we found in the Montana newspapers and things. So
didn't Douglas Preston say he saw the chest in the vault in the summer of a certain year? 2010? I can't remember.
I want to say 2009.
Try and use that to narrow down when Forrest would have hit.
Well, and the FOIA and the raid, that narrows it down for some as well.
And then Redneck Express points out that Forrest said from the Moby Dickens interview, it was 15 years from the time I got cancer till the time I hit the treasure chest. 15 years from 1988 when he got cancer would be 2003. And 15 years from then would be 2018. So yeah, there's a little bit of inconsistency on the time frame. I don't think it matters. Either you believe he went out there and he hit it, or you don't, I guess. He's just maybe misremembering or recalling it differently. Right?
Okay. Yes. And the chat zoomed by. If I missed you, I'm sorry. It's been zooming. Sorry.
Richard says, did he say at his 80th birthday he decided to hide it? I don't remember
Nope.
that. At his
I
80th
don't remember that either. Nope.
Don't remember that at all. All right, let's keep going.
Oh, and Richard, we can see Richard McKeever. We can see you, or I can see you at least.
Yes, Richard, there will be a Zoom for the poker for anybody that's interested. I put that in the chat a couple times. Here we go. I'll back it up. Somebody has to back it up. Uh-oh, load. In a second. I don't know if that's the internet or what.
Forrest, leave our stream alone. He knows this.
Froze up too.
Oh.
Is he on, David? All right. Let's see if we come back or not. Let's see. Let's see if we're back. Yeah, we're back. Having internet issues, everybody. So, all right, let's get back.
Long time. But I think I'm correct in saying that.
No, and then it was down again. Sorry, everybody. Not my fault. Blame the internet company.
Well, I knew every step from the first one, from the first clue to the last one. I mean, it was already in my mind for a long time. But I think I'm correct in saying that I hid the treasure and then I went home and wrote the poem. I could have done it the other way around. I don't think it makes any difference because there was just one place under consideration in my mind to do that. But all of the nouns in that poem, I looked up because I wanted to know exactly what does this word mean. And I found out that my conception of a lot of words is not what the dictionary says.
So sorry about the interruption, everybody. Apparently, internet is slow. I think they're throttling because of what? Because of coronavirus. You know what it is.
I blame Forrest Fenn. I think we're getting close, and he wants to. He has a little button, and it takes us offline. That's what I think.
So just refresh, and hopefully we'll be back if it cuts off again. But this is interesting. He talks about he looked up every noun in the poem, and that some of the definitions are not what he thought it was. So later on, when we got him to say there is a word that's more important than the others, to me, that means it's a noun. Those are the words he looked up the definition of to make sure it was what he wanted to convey. And it might be an obscure definition. What do you think, Kpro?
I agree. We've talked about this in length. So he's always focused on the nouns. He has said, even though he says every sentence is important, every line is important, he has said, you and Cynthia hounded him. I was innocent, and you guys hounded him and said there's one word that will help you more than others in the poem. And we've already talked about what we think that is. And so we won't get into that, but this is part of the reason why. And if you go and look up different words, you will see when you get to the second and third definitions, they are very different. Look at riches. I never knew that those different places of rich or different definitions of riches. So there you have it. There it is.
All right, here we go. And I don't think he was done. Let's see.
What significance do the aberrations have, such as knowledge without the deed?
I'm going to go back because a lot of people are like, you're skipping stuff. So no, let's go back just to let it play all together.
Exactly what does this word mean? I found out that my conception of a lot of words is not what the dictionary says.
What significance do the aberrations have, such as knowledge without the D?
Such as what?
The knowledge without the D?
I'm just having fun. As a matter of fact, I'm glad you asked me that question because I think it was Einstein that said information is more important than knowledge. What's the quote?
Imagination is more important than knowledge.
Yeah. So it begs for me to misspell a word. If knowledge is taking a back seat to information, then why not misspell a word? It went over everybody's head. And I think that's so funny that I've done a lot of things like that. And I relish in the thought that I'm saying things that I'm the only one that knows what I said.
So he's just having fun. The D without the knowledge. He wanted to see who would catch it. He says it went over everybody's head or most people's head. We talk about it now, but I think when the book first came out, I wonder how many people caught it. And because he says he's just having fun, I really don't think it's part of the poem, part of the clues, part of the solution. What do you think?
I have a hard time with this one because there are so many, let's say, errors, aberrations, typos, misinformation, not factual information, etc. And we had the Kpro show maybe a year ago where he started going over them, and Forrest was not happy. And Forrest and Kpro, I think, have talked it out. They're okay now, but he was not happy when we were pointing this stuff out. So I just feel if there's that many errors, if there was one or two errors, that'd be different. Knowledge without the D, it's obvious he meant that one. Did he mean all of the errors in TTOTC? There's a lot of errors in TTOTC or aberrations, whatever you want to call them.
And then he says he embellishes, you know what I mean? So what we call an error could just be an embellishment on his part. But wouldn't it be awesome if the blaze was actually a D? If you're in your final spot looking around and you see a D carved into rock, if you've been wise, in order to be wise, you need knowledge. And in the book, the D is missing in knowledge and you see a D carved. I mean, wouldn't that be it? You wouldn't even have to guess. That's it. Forrest put a D for me to find his chest. But I don't know if it's that simple. Anyway, not simple, but you know what I mean. Anyway, let's continue on.
And Big Sky, yes, I've heard from John Wayne. John Wayne, I owe you a call back. I'm sorry, things have been a little hectic. John Wayne, I believe, is back. If he's not, he's traveling back from Boots on the Ground. He does not have it. And Cynthia is out Boots on the Ground. So there you have it. Search season is kind of starting to begin. Okay, keep going. Gianna, I'm not saying that out loud.
Every man has to bring attention to the big D. Jay, Minnesota, everybody.
Did you ever anticipate every word that you would say or anything you would do would be taken as a clue or a hint for your treasure chest?
That's one of the things I did. I mean, no, I mean, that's preposterous, really. But I know that that's happened. And there's a guy by the name of Chris LaFrida. Do you know that name? He has a PhD in electrical engineering, and he designs and makes microchips for a living. I mean, this guy's no dummy. He's a treasure hunter. Lives back east. And he figured that if he read my books and learned something about me, then he could find a clue that would take him to the treasure. So he called me on the phone. He told me some things that were interesting to me, so I invited him to come see me. And he wanted to see my Vietnam scrapbook. I mean, I've got a lot of stuff from Vietnam, photographs and different things. 328 combat missions are written in great detail. That I wrote them as soon as I landed. I mean, this is something that it's pretty elaborate. So he started going through those things, and he couldn't believe some of the things that were in there. And he got interested in the fact that I'd been shot down twice, and once in Vietnam and once in Laos. And I made the comment in my debriefing after having been shot down in Laos. I made the comment that I'd just come off a tanker and the airplane was full of fuel, and I ejected from the airplane and I watched it crash into what we call a cliff or a bluff in this country, they call karst over there. And he got into that thing mathematically, and he figured that the airplane flew for 55 seconds after I ejected out of it. And he hired a couple of guys, an expatriate from Australia and some local Laotian natives, and they all got machetes, and there were a lot of tigers in that jungle, so they hired this guy with an AK-47 to go with them, and they hacked their way through the jungle. I mean, they gave me wonderful videos of them doing this. And they went to the spot where the airplane crashed, except it wasn't there. But they knew it had been there, so they started cutting the underbrush, the stuff that's a foot off, the weeds that are a foot off the ground. And then they start picking up pieces of my airplane. Aluminum tubing, they found a big piece of one of my tires, and he got the nomenclature off of that, and he researched, and he found out because he wanted to make sure that that was my airplane, my F-100. So he found out that tire, the nomenclature on that tire told him that only 2 different types of fighters in the Vietnam War used that tire, and the other airplane was an F-106, and we lost 6 F-106s, and he researched where every one of them crashed, and there was another F-100 that crashed about 2 miles from where my airplane was, so he did some research and eliminated that, and I mean, he wrote a lengthy story about that, and the closest village was 2 miles away, and 11 people lived in that village. Well, he got permission from the chief of the village, the chief of 11 people, and hired a couple of people out of that village to go with him, and they knew where the wreckage was. The airplane was gone because he was told that the Chinese wanted the metal. They were buying all kinds of metal, and they took that airplane apart, I think, a screw at a time, and hauled it out of there. But a lot of the things they didn't want, and those things are still there. And he gave me a little cast aluminum piece of my airplane that laid in that jungle for 51 years, waiting for those guys to come get it. I mean, that's one of my prized possessions today. But
I was gonna say, how did that make you feel when you saw the piece and now you have it?
When I was filling my treasure chest up with things that I wanted it to be valuable, which means you have to put small things in there. And so I put several hundred, or maybe 1,000 gold nuggets in there. There's some beautiful little jade pieces, and I'm trying to get to your question.
No, please. Yeah.
And
fine.
But when everything was ready to go hide the treasure chest, I had kind of an empty feeling. I'm going to go hide this treasure chest, but it's not with me anymore. I mean, I'm not part of it, and I felt empty. And I started thinking about that, and then it came to me. I had this wonderful little bracelet that Richard Weatherall, when he climbed down into Mesa Verde the very first time, he discovered Mesa Verde. When he climbed down the very first time and entered Mesa Verde, the ruins, he picked up these 22 little disc turquoise beads. A year or so later, when he was excavating the ruin, Richard Weatherall had an Indian working for him in the excavation that made a little rope bracelet out of those 22 beads. Well, a lot of things happened. An Indian shot and killed Richard Weatherall. I mean, there's a myriad of events that took place after that, but then the bracelet was sold to Fred Harvey of the Harvey houses, the Grand Canyon. He owns all those concessions. And then when he died, that collection was being acquisitioned into the Herd Museum in Phoenix. Well, it just so happened that Byron Harvey was a friend of mine. He was a relative of Fred Harvey's, and I was talking to him one day, and he showed me this bracelet. And I said, well, I'll play you a game of pool for that bracelet. this guy was certifiably crazy. I mean, you had to like the guy, but when I first went in his house in Phoenix, he had Maria Potts lined up and he was rolling one like a bowling alley, breaking Maria Potts. I mean, he was known to jerk the phone off the wall in the Herd Museum because he got mad. But anyway, I won that bracelet in a pool game. So I told myself, you know, if I put that bracelet in this treasure chest, that's part of me. And that was the last thing I put in. I closed the lid and I said, yeah, that's okay. I'm part of the thing from now on.
Okay, so he kind of goes into a story there, but you ask him, did you ever think every word you say, there's going to be a hint? And he said, no, that's preposterous. But then he puts out scrapbooks, you know, and that just tells me he just reiterated it. The clues are in the poem. Everything else is just white noise in the background that we all see our patterns in, and we all are guilty of it. It's just human nature, but it's those clues and those clues alone that will take you to the treasure chest.
Yeah, and I don't want to go way rewind, but basically the Chris story, I think that's a new story. He's excited to be telling it. It was something that's really cool for him. He talks about how important it was to him. And then he gets into the treasure chest and how he's starting to put the treasure chest together and their valuable pieces. And then the bracelet story. I think he loves telling the bracelet story since the bracelet's in there and he talks about, you know, wanting it back and why. So
Redneck Express points out, what is the hint in I won that bracelet in a pool game? It's got to be important because he always makes a point to say it. There's no hint. There's no clue. He's just saying that's how I won the bracelet. It was in a pool game from this. Was it Byron Harvey was his name? It's just a story Forrest likes to tell. I mean, Forrest is full of stories and he gets them out. So I don't think there's anything there. Somebody said turquoise is part of it. Turquoise is a clue. I don't think any of those clues. The clues are in the poem, but yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I've probably sat with him more than a few times. There's some stories I've heard a lot more than there's some stories I've heard almost every time I've sat with him. And there's some stories that I've only heard once or twice. And then like the Chris LaFrida one, I've now only heard once. I've heard that bracelet story at least 10, probably 15, maybe even 20 times. And here's the interesting part. He always tells it the same. He doesn't have those aberrations, so I think it's possible for him not to have the aberrations. So,
or is he doing the whole treasure chest first, poem first thing on purpose just to throw people off?
Yeah.
And somebody says, well, why didn't somebody ask him to clarify? Dale did. On Dale's blog, he actually said it's an inconsistency, Forrest. And Forrest came back and said, that's the way I remember it. So, okay, let's continue on.
Okay.
Also talking about when someone does find the treasure, it is there, the chest and the contents are theirs, correct? They will own that treasure.
I said in my poem, I'd give you title to the gold.
Okay.
But there are a lot of subchapter S's to that rule too. But I don't want to go there.
Okay.
So that's an interesting one. You say the person who finds the chest will own the contents. And he doesn't say yes or no. He says the poem says I give you title to the gold. Some people are saying that means maybe you don't own everything because he didn't just give you a yes. But then he says there's a lot of subchapter S's involved, and I don't want to go there. Now, does the subchapter S, everybody thought that relates to taxes, but could that relate to ownership, I wonder? In other words, legally, who owns it when you find it? And he says there's kind of some legal things there. What do you think?
I think at the time I felt like this was answered, and now going back, I don't think it was. So if I say, do you own the chest and the contents? And his answer is, you have title to the gold. There's a lot of stuff, not gold, in that treasure chest.
He didn't really answer it.
He didn't answer it, even though he did. It felt like it at the time. He didn't. And then the subchapter S's, I don't know if he purposely sent us down rabbit holes, but there has been a ton of side discussion, etc. I don't know exactly what it meant. I think there is something he was trying to say there. I think he knows everybody, and he says this later. I don't know if we put this out, but he is surprised how everybody tailors to every single word he says.
Right.
Sneezes and it's a clue. He never anticipated that, but he fully understands it now. He's very purposeful with his words. So I think he said subchapter S's for a reason. I don't know if it's a hint. I don't know.
Could be Joel, and then he retracts it just like a lawyer. I will say this: it's interesting that you say when somebody finds a chest, will they own it, the chest and the contents? And he says the poem says title to the gold. There's a lot of subchapter S's. What if you don't own it until you sign whatever documents in it, like something that's a subchapter S? Then you own it. In other words, you have to complete an action once you find it in order to legally own it. I just wonder if that's why he kind of said the poem says title to the gold, but he's not going to say, but there's this other step you have to do when you find it.
Well, and when Forrest was giving me words, this is before YouTube time. He was giving me words for Thor. One of the sets of words, there was a user by the name of John, won't go into his last name. He said he heard that the person that finds it does not own the biography that is in the chest. I asked Forrest, because the stream of words Forrest gave me is Forrest clarifies. I said, can you clarify? And he's like, yeah, you don't own it. You'll own that copy. You will not own the copyright to the book that's in that chest.
Just as if I go buy Stephen King's book, I own that copy. I don't own the rights to that book. Whoever finds Forrest treasure chest will own the copy that's in there, but you don't own the copyright. You can't reproduce it. You can't write a book and reproduce it, correct? Because you don't own the copyright.
Correct. But now that's a book that's not out in the open. And so will his family start selling that? I don't know. Is that what Shiloh's going to do? I don't know. I don't know is the answer to that. So it'll be interesting to see what that will look like and what that story is, et cetera. Now the person can talk about the book, but the person can't mass reproduce it. They will not have legal right to do that. Just like our interview and just like many interviews out there, it's copywritten until you get legal permission. Now, maybe that's what Forrest is saying is that's why they have to come and have a conversation with me is maybe I will give them. But right now he's been very clear. He put it in writing to me, wanted it out on Thor. It is out on Thor. And I can tell you, he said, you do not own copyrights to that book.
That's interesting. Okay. And maybe that's why the poem says title to the gold, not title. You don't get title to everything in it. In other words, copyright wise, I don't know, just a thought.
What recommendation do you give to the finder? Do you think they should be public? Do you think they should remain anonymous?
I've said several times that if you find that treasure chest, put it under your bed and leave it there for 30 days without doing anything. There's a lot that you need to think about. And there are a lot of things. I spent a lot of time thinking about that. I spent $5,000 with an attorney researching what happens if it's found on private property, Indian land, government land being Bureau of Reclamation, Corps of Engineers, BLM, National Park Service, Forest Service. There's 20 of those things, and every one of them has a different rule. So it's not that easy, but it's certainly doable. And that's why I say put it under your bed and leave it for 30 days because you need to think about every one of those things.
It's not that easy, but it's doable. That tells me that it's not just I find it, I put it in my car, it's mine. There is some kind of a legal aspect to this. Forrest paid lawyers. It's not that easy, but it's doable. He found a way to make it work.
Yeah, but it's kind of interesting what he says because the question was, do you want to be anonymous or public? And he kind of didn't answer that question. He answers it later, I think. But he answers, wait 30 days because you have a lot to think about, like the type of land and attorney issues.
That turns into ownership issues, right? So you're asking him, do I go public or stay anonymous? And he goes into ownership issues. And that goes into ownership of the chest, depending what land. Yeah, that is interesting.
And then he says, and he named off a lot more than he normally is named, Corps of Engineers and Forest and Bureau and Public and Private. And he says, you have to think of every one of those. No, you don't. You only have to think of the one that you found it on, right? And maybe I'm picking apart words here. Maybe there's nothing there, but that's what I was thinking. Well, why did he say that?
I hope to find out someday.
Someday.
We got 10 minutes left. We can go over a little bit, I guess. Let's continue on.
Yeah, we can't be late for poker. We get locked out.
Now, when you have thought about that, there has been a lot of media recently of transitions of land from, let's say, BLM to a different type of land. Did you consider that when you worked so if the treasure's on one type of land and it transitions to a different?
I don't want to go there.
Don't want to go. Okay. So
he says, I don't want to go there. So your question was, if it was on a certain type of land when you hit it, and then it somehow in the time until somebody finds it, it transitions to another land type, correct?
Yes. So if it got, so, and I have to give credit to Mike Davis for this. He put up on Harry's forum maybe a year and a half ago, how there was like 40,000 acres, and I might get the details wrong, of land that got transitioned from BLM and the National Forest. It transitioned to the National Forest or something like that. And
Ownership just change is the point.
right. And
Change.
what if Forrest spent all this money, and maybe this is why he spent money going to an attorney before he hid and then after he hid the treasure, because maybe it transitioned. That was going to be my aha. That's what I wanted to get to. But then he said he wasn't going to go there. So.
All right. And then he actually, let me bring it back a little bit, because then he keeps going.
Treasure is on one type of land and it transitions
I
to a
don't want to
different.
go there.
Don't want to go there. Okay. Okay. So the flight.
But let me make one comment. If you rent a cabin on private property in northern New Mexico, it's sitting out there by itself, you rent it. What are you renting? You're renting a place to sleep. But are you renting the backyard? Are you renting the front yard? Can you use the barbecue pit out there? And if you can use those things, then that's your property, isn't it, for 24 hours? You see where this can go?
And I look at it as renting a house. If I rent a house, yeah, I don't own it, but I consider that my property. I say who's allowed in and who's allowed out. You know what I mean? I'm renting it. I live there. So
right, but you don't own it. If that
I don't own it, but while I'm there, it's mine though. Yeah, it's a weird line, isn't it? In other words, I should be able to do what I want to do with the landowner's permission, I guess. I don't know.
Well, you have permission to use whatever it is. You don't have permission. Like I rent right now. I haven't rented in 20 years. It is a very odd thing when I have something go out and my landlord says I'm coming tomorrow at noon. Of course, it's nice to have the notice, but legally he is able to come because I don't own that. And there's something tricky about what he says here.
Yeah.
Because he didn't answer the question and he didn't want it under the guise of that question, but he wanted this information out. So if you're renting a property, and he said, are you renting the front yard, the backyard, the barbecue? He gave those 3 examples. That's your property for 24 hours. Right. But then let's say you leave something, and there's a ton of law. And I've talked to a couple of searchers who may or may not be attorneys in their real life. There's a lot here on what if you as a renter, Mike, and me as a renter, find in the ducts of the air conditioning $100,000 cash. Is that ours? Because we're renting it. It's ours.
You're renting. If you don't tell anybody, it's yours.
Oh my God. No,
right?
Legally speaking.
I know. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Or to go more to the treasure chest point, if I rent a house for a year and I bury something in the backyard, and then 5 years later somebody finds it, that's still mine. I still own it. Or did I give up ownership rights when I left and no longer rented it? I don't know. And we're not saying Forrest rented the property, but when he brought that up, it makes you think somehow he had some kind of ownership on the land. I don't know. We could probably guess all day.
And then he says northern New Mexico, of course. So that means it's either in northern New Mexico or it's absolutely not in northern New Mexico. Whichever confirms your spot, you pick that side of things.
Yeah, that's another tricky one for sure. All right.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to get through it all tonight. We cannot go over. And 9 clues, I know you said we still have 40 minutes. We have not eaten dinner yet.
You've not registered yet? I already registered for tonight's.
I am registered. Do you want to eat or not eat? I'm fine.
If we're going to eat. I don't know how we're going to eat when you're in North Carolina. All right, here we go.
What do you estimate the number of searchers at this point, or searches?
Well, 2 summers ago, I spent a half a day on that search again. At that time, I had received 250,000 emails. That's 100 a day for 9 or 10 years. I forget now what. That was 2 years ago. But I just don't know. There've been more people searching in all 4 states. I think there are more people searching in New Mexico than People make a big deal out of Montana and Wyoming and northern Colorado. They're kind of overlooking New Mexico. But the mayor of Santa Fe gave me a proclamation because the occupancy rate in the motels was up 6% over two years in a row, and nobody could figure out why. They blamed it on their treasure chest.
So the community is dubbed.
All right. Well, Kathy Ramsey brought up a good point. Kpro, I think you'll have to file a mining claim on the place he hid it. You are filing a claim to mine potash, whatever that is. While mining potash, you find gold. Legally, you own the gold. I don't know if that's true or not. If you have a mining claim, do you own whatever's in the ground because you mined it? I mean, I don't know how that would apply here, but legal ownership of property is kind of what it comes down to, right?
Well, there's a couple things here. Let's look at, he says something, but then he contradicts himself. He said, I know a lot of searchers are overlooking New Mexico, but he got this award based on occupancy being up. So obviously people are not ignoring New Mexico. He says, I know a lot of people go to Montana, Wyoming, and northern Colorado. Was this a specific shout out to Cynthia, who had moved up? I don't know. She was in the room, so that could have been to her. But then he also says, so he's been quoted in saying there's 400,000 searchers. This one just caught me. If he says he had 250,000 emails, and God knows, I know a few people who've written them hundreds of thousands of times. So if there's 250,000 emails, wouldn't that be a ton less than 400,000 searchers?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know when he counted those, but yeah.
He said 2 years before.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So between then and now, has it risen to 250 to 300? Who knows?
Yeah. 3D Braun says, I think it's funny he didn't say potentially overlooking or might be overlooking. He says they're overlooking. Okay, maybe.
All right. So we are going to wrap up. What we'll do is Thursday, we will finish the video. Okay. What? Oh,
I just have kid activity all around me.
So
we cannot have silence for 45
let's
minutes.
look real quick where we pause. I don't want anybody to really think we're missing something. We are at 15:27. There's another 9 minutes. We are going to play that and finish it on Thursday. 15:27. Remember that, everybody. The 15-minute mark. But I'll leave everybody with this as we head out. A lot of people are like, his last point, New Mexico up in the Yellowstone northern area. Which one? What could it be? He releases the book at the Collected Works bookstore right there in Santa Fe where he lives. He only did a run of 1,000 because he didn't know if anybody would buy it. The book has a map of New Mexico, an old style map, and the book just says mountains north of Santa Fe. Is Forrest Fenn the type of person who would do all that to make people think it's in New Mexico, northern New Mexico, when really it is up in Yellowstone? Is he the type of person to it's not a trick, maybe misdirection. And I think it's fair in any treasure hunt. That would be fair because everything is technically correct. The mountains north of Santa Fe, Rocky Mountains, do go all the way up to Canada. Is he the type of person that would do a little misdirection in his book? What do you think, Kpro?
Okay, let me frame it the other way. So you have a man that has spent most of his life in Yellowstone. That whole area, Yellowstone Cody, he has been his entire life as a child. He wrote TTOTC predominantly about Yellowstone. He's donated significantly to anywhere from Earthquake Lake to the West Yellowstone area, to been on the board of directors at the Cody Museum and spent significant amount of time there. He is down in Santa Fe. He's made his mark in Santa Fe, but maybe he wanted everyone to know about how special it is up in the northern part. And that somebody actually would have to travel up there. It's for $1 million. You have to travel up there. There's the other side of that coin, my friend. And but Colorado, who the hell's in Colorado? Why isn't it ruled out by now?
John Wayne Bobbitt. Cut it out. All I'm saying is when you read The Thrill of the Chase at face value, a lot of people say it sounds like it's up in the Taos area, right above Santa Fe.
How can you say that?
Because it's the mountains north of Santa Fe. And more importantly, there's not a map of all 4 search states like in Too Far to Walk. There's just that map of New Mexico.
Have you read any of the stories in TTOTC?
But I'm talking about the chapter Golden Moor.
Okay, you're talking about one chapter. I'm talking about the entire book. Did you only look at that chapter of the book?
I'm just saying it right back. Forrest's the type of person to do that misdirection. And I say absolutely yes, he is. because I think he didn't, when he first released the book in 2010, he didn't want it found. He wanted it to be his legacy. Even if it didn't grow bigger than the 1,000 books, his picture up on the wall at the Collected Works bookstore, that's the guy that did a treasure hunt, and everybody in this little area, if it didn't go national, I think that is a trick that he put, and a legal trick. It's fair to do that. There's nothing with it being up in the Yellowstone area, outside the park, inside the park, any of that negates anything he said over the years. But I do think, being the maverick, being the salesman of the art gallery and all that, I think it's something he would do. Just my personal opinion.
If he's overlooking, this came from 9 Clues. Does that mean look over New Mexico? Look
over the states all the way up to where it is.
I actually don't think it's mischievous. He has said it both ways. Now, I do have to say,
I don't think there's anything wrong with it, right?
The first time I heard that, it was actually Illinois Ghost that said it, and Sassy. That was the other one, Sherry. They said, like, when this started, it was all about New Mexico because all the reasons you just named. But maybe that's why you have to be clever. Maybe that's why he put so much up north. I'd never been to Yellowstone before this hunt.
Right. I'd never been to Yellowstone before it either. So
yeah. So there you
go. All right, everybody. That's it. Those are the Forrest Fenn clips. We're going to finish it on Thursday. What I really need to do, but I am not promising I'm going to do this by Thursday, is take every clip we've released and make a new video that contains everything. But we've released probably more than we haven't. So that would take a while. But anyway, at some point I'll do that and make a new video that contains everything. So thanks for joining us. Make sure you thumbs up the video. Tune in Thursday on the Cowlazars channel. Make sure you're subscribed to this one, because you never know, we may just go live. I don't think we've ever said if we're going to broadcast the poker or the final table on Sunday live, but we might. We'll see. So make sure you subscribe to Hint of Riches and Cowlazars. The Hint of Riches is the forum. Forrest Fenn's Grand Adventure on Facebook is the Facebook group. And we got maybe 9 Too Far to Walk maps left. And that's it. The 24 by 30 inch benchmark Too Far to Walk map for your wall. Email me if you are interested. Okay. Anything else, Kpro?
No. Thank you, guys. And even as we went over it tonight, I thought about some things I hadn't thought about before. So I do think we need to take our time and get through all of these and really kind of think it through.
Okay, poker in 25 minutes. If you're new, make sure you get in there in the next 25 minutes. And if you don't, you still have 3 more days this week to get in and win Copper Dan's Too Far to Walk piece. We are going to have a Zoom for poker. So if anybody wants that, just email me. It is not for YouTube. We just get in there and talk. I know some people were asking you about some comments that were made in a previous Zoom. So,
and I will say, I'm not going to get bullied into what I talk about on which shows. If I happen to be in a Zoom or I happen to be on another channel and discuss things, I might discuss them here on open nights, but we had a topic tonight. So now people are calling me liars and all that. Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm discussing stuff when I feel like I'm discussing stuff. So there you have it. There it is. Boom.
All right. We'll see you on Thursday.
Kpro Cow, pow wow.